Let's start our today's session, which is talk about the firewall. So, any idea what is firewall? Guys, any idea? You can still unmute yourself and you can share your thoughts. Any idea about firewall? What is firewall? What is the necessity of firewall? Just share with me, guys. It's not okay. Whatever you know, you can just share me. So based on that, we'll go with that. Okay. So everyone know what is firewall. Okay. So you can just share your thoughts. What is firewall? You can just send a text as well, chat as well. Okay. So the firewall, any idea what is firewall?
Firewall, it's a security device.
Okay.
Okay, that monitor the network traffics and basically it's monitor the network traffics and inbound, onboard, everything.
Okay. Yes. Okay, fine. So and I'm receiving some of the comments like firewall internal to protect from the external threats, protect internal resources from the external threat. Okay, fine. And firewall secure a network. Okay, fine. Firewall is a hardware which can protect your network. Okay, fine. Okay, guys. So fine, enough. So yeah. So all your points, if you're grouping together and if you're creating one definition, so that is called a firewall. Okay, right. So in my point of view, I'm going to say what is firewall. Firewall is a mechanism. Okay, which is used to control and monitor the your network, not only network traffic. So the firewall, we have a different kind of firewalls. Okay, so the firewall is a mechanism which can control and monitor and do deep inspect your production network traffic or your internal home network traffic, whatever it is. So your right. So your end user machine traffic, it will monitor and it will inspect the traffic. And if it is anything as a vulnerable or threaten to the network or it is threaten to your end user piece, end user machine, threaten to your uh, in home network, right? So and it threaten to your enterprise network, right? So everything it can able to do control and monitor the traffic, and it can also analyze the traffic by deep inspect the traffic, and it can identify the vulnerability, threats, virus, malware, right? So which is going to harmful to your network resources. Okay, your end user PC, shareable resources like printer, scanner, and some of the surveillance devices, right? So IoT devices, right? So everything it can be protect from your vulnerability threats over the network. Okay, over the network. So that is called a firewall, guys. So firewall is what? Firewall mainly doing two roles. One is control the traffic. Okay, firewall doing major two roles. So control and monitor, or you can say deep inspection. Nowadays, if it is a good firewall, right? So that firewall has to do majorly these two roles. Control your live traffic, internal network to external, external network to internal access, control your traffic and monitor authenticated, control and authenticate your traffic. Then it is allowed the traffic. After that, allowed traffic, it doesn't mean your traffic is allowed by your firewall and that traffic is a secure traffic. So what you have to do, even though your firewall allows the traffic based on your policy, what you have created is your or not basic security policy, whatever you have created as administrator, your firewall will act regarding your rules. So if your rules simply allow that traffic, your firewall, normal firewall will not examine anything, simply it will allow the traffic. So if it is a good firewall, it has to, it should not blindly trust if the rule is allow the traffic. So it should also deep inspect. It should also maintain or monitor the traffic, allow the traffic as well, so that anything is a vulnerable inside in a hidden way, so that your firewall can detect, and then it can prevent that threats from it prevent our network from that vulnerability or threats, guys. Okay, so these two roles your firewall is doing, guys. Okay, so the what is the necessary? Because nowadays we need a security. Without security we cannot nowadays entire business or entire as a common user also, nowadays our life running behind the internet only, right? So network only. So without secure your internal network or your network rights or network resources, you cannot survey properly, guys. Okay, uh, recently also, one of the crypto platform has got hacked, right? So Vazrex, the same way we are our entire life be running behind the internet services. So we need to control and monitor our activities in the internet as well as your internal locally within your home network as well, within your organization as well, or internet as well. So entirely we need to monitor our activities, guys. So for that we need, it depends on the use cases. If you want to, if you're automated your, if you have a automated home network, like I within IoT devices and some of the networking devices you have in a home, or small office kind of networks, if you have, you need, for that also you need a security. So based on your needs, based on your requirement, I mean the size of your network, you can purchase the purchase the firewalls and you can protect your network, guys. Okay, the same way here we are talking about the enterprise firewalls, which is mainly focusing to protect your entire network. Okay, so that firewall only here we are discussing, and we are learning all these five firewalls are network firewalls. Okay, the firewalls are the functionality wise are okay. So functionality or capability wise, I'm going to okay. So I'm going to split the firewalls in a different way. So the firewalls, according to me, firewall, we have a two kind of firewalls. One is end user firewall. Another one is network firewall. Whatever the firewall product we are going to learn here, that is comes under the network firewall. So end user firewall. So in a daily basis, we are using it through in a mobile. If you're having an antivirus application in your mobile, so you are using end user firewall. You're if you're using a Windows machine, in build we have one Windows firewall, Windows Defender firewall, right? So which whatever the antivirus program that comes under the end user firewall. Okay, so we are daily in a daily basis we are using it, guys. It's not capable to do protect. It will protect only on end device. It will not having a capability to protect your entire network. So this tools this commonly this is called as a tools or softwares. Okay, it will not having a much. It can prevent an end user PC, end machine, which is installed on that particular machine, right? So that machine only it can able to protect. It will not able to protect entire network. But if you go for a network firewall, it will act like a barrier to your entire network. It will any vulnerability, any threat is entering to your network, your firewall will act like a first man, and he will be standing against that vulnerability, and he will try to block or he'll try to block that vulnerability to save your network, guys. Okay, that is the activity which is done by your network firewalls. Okay, so whatever the fire, as I mentioned, whatever the firewall here we are going to learn, that comes under the network firewalls. Okay, and again, the the firewalls again, I can classify by the product wise. Okay, let's say hardware based firewall, software based firewall, or VM firewall, virtual machine firewall. Okay, so hardware based firewall, almost most of the vendors, enterprise vendors like Palo Alto, FortiGate, Checkpoint, Cisco, right? Everyone, they have their own hardware specific firewalls. And the same way, so under software based firewall, all the vendors also having a virtual machine firewall, VM machine firewall as well. Okay. So apart from this functionality, we are going to discuss about the network firewall, right? So network firewall, again, network firewall, we can split as a two-way. One is hardware-based firewall, another one is software-based firewall. But both, almost every vendor will support both. Not every vendor. So whatever the product here we are learning, right? All the vendors supporting the hardware-based firewall and software-based firewall only. Okay. So in this hardware-based firewall and software-based firewall, further by working principle, we can classify in a different way. So that are all traditional firewall, proxy firewall, okay, and application firewall and next generation firewall. Okay, so these are all the firewall types we have. Okay, so traditional firewall and proxy firewall and application firewall and next generation firewall. Okay, so in a traditional firewall, next generation firewall and traditional firewall, one of the traditional firewall, I'm going to okay, let's start with the traditional firewall. Traditional firewall, further I'm going to classify in a two methods. One is stateful firewall, one is stateless packet filtering firewall. Okay, so packet filtering firewall and stateful firewalls. So as I mentioned yesterday, so we are going to learn one traditional firewall in this 5-in-1 firewall combo, and rest of the four firewalls are next generation firewalls. Okay, and all the five firewalls are stateful firewalls. Okay, so stateful and stateless firewalls and stateless firewalls. Okay, stateful and stateless. So packet filtering is the stateless firewall, packet filtering firewall, and your Cisco ASA is example for stateful firewall, or Paloalto, FortiGate. All next generation firewalls are stateful firewalls only. Comes under stateful firewalls. So what does mean by stateless and stateful? Any idea, guys? Any idea? Stateful and stateless.
Yes.
Okay, so packet filtering firewall, it's also known as stateless firewall, which the example you can use your home routers or normal Wi-Fi routers, or enterprise Cisco routers, Cisco or Juniper normal routers. Okay, so that routers we can use as a firewall. What is the firewall function? Control the traffic. One of the firewall function is controlling the traffic, right? So we can control the traffic. Control means either allow or deny the necessary traffic, right? So allow or deny the traffic, which we can also do it on your Cisco router or Juniper router, whatever, right? Enterprise routers we can do. In nowadays home Wi-Fi router also we can able to do that, allowing the traffic or denying the traffic. In your, you can create a ACLs in your wireless router or enterprise routers. By using access control list, we can able to create a rule to allow or deny. So by using that ACL, we are controlling the traffic. So which means, so one of the main major function of firewall is controlling the traffic. So that controlling the traffic, we can also able to do it on your stateless firewall, which is packet filtering firewall. Okay, so the ancient days, and before invent the firewall, stateful firewall, we used this kind of firewalls only. They used the routers only to filter the traffic and by creating a ACL, guys. Okay. And then what is the drawback? What is the drawback? Your router, it's already having a lot of workload. Router is responsible for routing update, router is responsible for NAT, and router is responsible for VPN traffic, since it's act like a gateway, right? So it has to do lot of activities. So along with that, if you are creating a rule to control the traffic, so it will take a lot of workload. Okay, so when you're using a normal traditional router as a traditional firewall, right? So if you're using a packet filtering firewall, right, By using ACL only, you can control the traffic. So what is the advantage? By creating a ACL to control the traffic, you can allow or deny the rule based on the IP address, port numbers, protocols, right? If I want to allow or deny, let's say, so this user, internal user, he is trying to access Facebook over the internet. Okay. If I am using traditional firewall, I can able to filter that. I can able to filter this traffic when I'm using a traditional firewall instead of next generation firewall or application firewall. If I'm using a traditional firewall, I can able to control that traffic by using IP, a source IP as a filter and destination IP as a filter. Okay. But for that, I need to know what is my destination IP. Where is my Facebook server IP? Facebook have multiple server around the world. So Facebook India one server we have, Facebook US one server we have. So we are not sure if Facebook in, let's say this user is in India, he is trying to access the Facebook server from India. So we know the IP of the Facebook server, and we are created the ACL to block for the source IP, and destination IP is your Facebook server IP address. Let's say it's a 200.10. Okay. And you can create a rule and block it. But if he used any other server, Facebook, any other continent servers or country servers like US, UK, and that he can able to access it. So we are not sure Facebook is always going to have a same application. Okay. So it might be internally changed, right, in from the Facebook side, or it might not be you cannot first of all, you cannot identify the actual public IP of your web server, I mean Facebook server, all the time. Okay. So it will be frequently changed based on the your request, right? So the availability, you will get a reply from the different kind of servers. Okay. So that is very difficult to achieve this filter, even though if by using a source IP and destination IP as a filter, and you are blocking that Facebook application, that's fine. But just imagine in the internet, lot of application we have, right? All the application we cannot identify the what is the IP address of that application. That, let's say, Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, like that social media application we have, and banking related application we have, right, education related application we have. All the application we cannot identify statically and other destination address, and we cannot create the rule. Even though if you're doing that also, it's not all the time, it's not going to work properly, because the destination might use different IP addresses in after some scenarios. Okay. So that is not feasible properly to filter the traffic when you are using a stateless, I mean commonly when you're using a traditional firewalls. And I'm coming to the stateless firewall. So just forget about filtering the Facebook application. So let's say I just want to allow deny some of the traffic in a traditional stateless firewall, normal router. Instead of Paloalto, here I'm placing router, and I'm applying a ACL in inbound interface, and I just want to block some traffic, okay, to the internet access. And let's take the same example, Facebook. I want to allow user one allow Facebook, and user two, I want to deny Facebook. Okay. So now I'm creating a rule by using source IP and destination IP as a filter. After create that also, let's say user one is authenticated and he is allowed to access the Facebook. While allowing the Facebook, he is trying to upload some 150 MB data videos. Okay. So this 150 MB data will be converted as 100 IP packets. Okay. Since it's a packet filtering firewall, what it will do? Each and every IP packet, it will do execute the ACL and multiple time, and it will not. The thing is, it will not maintain any record for this already authenticated traffic. So this same user, same session is created, and he is uploading the IP 150 MB data. It's actually, this session is already authenticated traffic only. But still, your stateless firewall, packet filtering firewall, what it will do? It will execute ACL for each and every IP packet, okay, and examine each and every IP packet. So because of that, what will happen? You are giving a over workload to your firewall. Let's say it is in a simple network. Let's say where they have a 10 to 15 PCs. In that use case, that might be that might be possible. But where you have hundreds of pieces, thousands of pieces in your internal network, right, in your corporate network. So all the users are initiating the traffic to the internet. So it will give a lot of work burden to your router because it's already doing a lot of work with the routing and L3 functions, NAT, VPN, routing, everything. And along with that, filtering also it is doing. So it will do execute ACL multiple times. Maybe it is faster. Packet filtering firewall, it is faster. It can execute the ACL as a faster way than your next generation firewall. Okay. But the real drawback is multiple ACL execution has happened. That's fine. It will overutilize the CPU indents. That is also fine. But the real drawback is this stateless firewall doesn't have any awareness. It's already authenticated. Why we need to execute the ACL unnecessarily for the authenticated traffic? So it doesn't aware and having any awareness about already authenticated traffic. So which means it's not maintaining the record. No record maintenance for the authenticated traffic, which is called state table or session table. Okay, so that entry will not be maintained by the traditional packet filtering file. Okay. Apart from this, apart from the state entry information, also it doesn't have a privilege to control, examine your original data. It will not having visibility on data level. So if it doesn't have a visibility on data level, which means application layer, application filter, it's not possible. And so layer 7 filters are not possible, like user ID filter, application based filter, application control, URL filter, file blocking. So that deep inspection as well, it's not possible. Monitoring also, it's not possible. Deep inspection is not possible, and session information is not maintaining. So when it comes to the security, in terms of security, less secure, it will provide less security on your network, and it is not suitable for the enterprise network, high-end networks, okay, complex network. Okay, it is not suitable for the complex networks. Okay, so these are all the drawback when you're using a packet filtering firewall. Okay, so now so after that, what they implement, so they try to fix the real issue behind the packet filtering firewall. The main first issue is still it is not maintaining any record for the already authenticated traffic. So they come up with a concept called connection table or state table, state stateful inspection or stateful stateful inspection method. So state table. So what in a traditional method they are not having inspection. So traditional firewall will not do inspect. But we do have a stateful firewall, that is a ASA firewall. So ASA firewall, what it will do, whatever the drawback is there in your stateless firewall, which is not maintaining the connection table. Okay, connection table, and I didn't forget to mention that. So connection table is it's not maintaining. Okay, it's a major drawback. So if you are maintaining a connection table, the number of ASL execution you can able to reduce drastically. Okay, so first they come up with the connection table concept which is called stateful inspection in a traditional firewall. One of the example for the traditional firewall is Cisco ASI firewall. And what is the advantage and disadvantage? So it will maintain a connection table, and then still that stateful firewall also use the ACL to control the traffic policy. ACL access control is to control the traffic. And then advantage of using a stateful firewall in a traditional method, you can filter the traffic based on the layer 3 filter and layer 4 filters, IP address, and then protocol port numbers you can use to filter the traffic. Okay, so IP, source IP, destination IP, source port number, destination port number, protocol, right? So services you can as a filter, and along with that, it is maintaining a connection table, session table. So what is the session table? The session table, it's an identical entry in information who is entering into your network. Let's say if you are enter into the between two, yes, so just a minute. No. Stateful and state, it's a different kind of firewall. It's not need of two firewalls. Okay. So stateful inspection and stateless inspection. Stateless inspection was given the previous firewalls. Nowadays, we are not using any stateless firewalls. Okay. So it's a old technology to control the traffic. Okay. So we are discussing about the history of firewalls. Clear? So now we are using a next generation firewall, and and our based on our needs, sometimes we are using application firewalls and proxy firewalls. Okay. So I'll let you know one by one, guys. Okay. So connection. So because of that, we can able to filter the traffic again by using IP address. So in your connection table, it will maintain your entry. What is the source IP you are using? What is the destination IP in your request? What is the port numbers? When you are requesting, time info. If you have a user information, network information also, it will show username, who is initiated the traffic. So these kind of informations are maintained in your connection table. It's just like when you're using a firewall and you're trying to, let me give here. Okay. So when you're using a firewall and your user is trying to reach your LAN to WAN, LAN to internet, border to border. Let's say you're crossing border to border in a LAN. Okay, so one country to country or one state to state, you're crossing. So what they will do? There one check post is there, and they will ask you why are you going, what is the reason, and what is your identity, right? So that and all they will ask you, right? So when you're entering, and they are also maintaining other information when you are going to exit, right? And what is the vehicle you're using? These kind of information they will maintain in a border gateways, right? So the same way, your firewall is going to maintain who are you, why are you going, where are you going, and what are the things you are going to use it. These kind of information, it will maintain in your firewall itself, so that while coming back, what it will do? They it will already have an entry. You are the so and so person. You went for this reason, and along with this vehicle, that kind of information. They are already maintaining it. So by using that info, they will again re-authenticate, and they will not ask anything, or they will simply allow you, permit you to go back to your place, right? So the same way it is happening in a network. So this process is called connection table. It will maintain this record. So this record is called connection table. In that connection record, it will maintain what is your name, what is your IP, what is your destination IP, to whom you are going to meet, right? So what is the service you are using, for what purpose you are going, that what is the service you are using, that is what is the service, what purpose you are going, and what kind of service you are using, so what kind of vehicle you are using, right? So like that we are maintaining all the record, right? The same way, what kind of service you are using, who are you, right? So what is your name, what is the logical, identity name, your logical name, right? So this information it will maintain in a connection table, guys. Clear? It was not maintained by the stateless firewall, but stateful firewall will maintain this information. So that information is called connection table. Because of that, reverse authentication, we no need to do it. Reverse authentication, reverse verification, we no need to do it for the reverse traffic. Okay. So And it is already, since it's already authenticated traffic, so we can trust the traffic as well. So then what is the drawback of traditional stateful firewall? Traditional stateful firewall, the drawback is still it is not having a privilege to identify the application or data visibility. The traditional, even though it is a stateful firewall, when you try to block or allow application specific traffic, let's say I want to block the Facebook, I want to allow Twitter, and I want to block the Facebook. Okay. In that use case, it's not possible to do. So layer 7 visibility, it's not having. So it will not working under in a layer 7 filters. So it is not possible to do application filter or URL filter, file blocking, data inspection. It's not possible, guys. Okay. The drawback is monitoring also not possible. No deep inspection like antivirus profile, IPS. There is no IPS activities, antivirus profile, vulnerability protection. These kind of features are not there. Along with, there is no opportunity to apply the application control, user identity, user based filter, URL filter, right? So these are all the things not possible. So, and the major drawback is since I don't have a data visibility, I'm not able to inspect the data. Monitoring is not possible. We need to do deep inspect and monitor the traffic to secure our production network, to enhance our security, right? So that is not possible when you're using a stateless firewall. Sorry, stateful traditional firewall. Traditional firewall. Okay. So after that, they come up with the along with this connection table feature, they come up with. So what are the drawbacks? There is no application visibility. Okay. And there is no user based authentication. There is no URL filter, right? So these are all the things that's not possible, right? And so some of the after that, some of the drawback, like there is no application visibility. And still another drawback is, since we are using a connection table information, we are maintaining a connection table information, it will show you your internal IP addresses also to the external network. Okay. So your identity will be shown in a unknown network, internet. Okay. So that will make a loophole to your production network. So to avoid that, they created or they implemented one more technology called proxy firewall. So proxy firewall, it's it's a proxy is a dedicated device. It's placed behind the traditional firewalls previously. Okay. So what it will do, it will proxy is created to hide your internal information, guys. So your internal ID. Okay. When it is going to the outside network, it will hide your internal ID, guys. Okay. So what is your source IP? What is your source port number? So these kind of informations are hidden by your proxy. And proxy, it will, due to the lack of inspection, right, in the ancient days, so it will allow the communication between the source and destination, and with its own information. What is the source IP? What is the destination IP? The session table information. Okay. So now what happens? There is an issue. I'm showing my internal information to internet as well. What is my IP? What is the destination? What is the source port? Everything. Okay. So by using that, the hackers can able to bypass your production network by using that information. So, and to avoid that, I don't want to show my original information when I'm going to the internet access. And I'm going to do little bit L7 inspection, content inspection. So what is the content? I'm not able to avoid, since my traditional firewall doesn't have a privilege of data link, application layer visibility. So data visibility is not there. So I'm not sure the data stealing is happen or not. Okay, data stealing or data content stealing is not happen or not, that I don't know. So to overcome that, they have implemented proxy firewall, and they deployed in behind your traditional firewall, stateful firewalls. Your traditional stateful firewalls will do L3 and L4 filters. Your proxy firewall will hide your internal information, like what is your source IP and internal IP address, everything. Along with that, it can also do inspect about the content information. Any content stealing is happen or content wise, it can able to do some deep inspection, little bit layer 7 filter. Okay, so some of not full-fledged layer application level filter, it's not possible in a proxy firewall, full-fledged application firewall. Okay, it can identify the application, it can identify the content, but it doesn't have a privilege to do deep inspection. Virus, malware it against the virus or malware, it is not able to deep inspect, and it is not able to prevent that thing. So when you're using a proxy file, so usage of proxy is, it will hide your internal user informations to the external network. It act like a middleman, so it will not allow you to reach your request directly from client to server. So what it will do, if you're saying, if you're giving a request for to access the Facebook server, so your proxy will get your information, and instead of you, it will initiate one more request. It will not directly allow your request, it will create one more request, and it will rephrase the IP addresses and it will forward the traffic to the destination of, I mean, via your firewall. It will forward the traffic to your destination, and destination, while replying the destination, and destination while reaching the destination, it will not show you your IP address or your public IP. It's a different IP it will use, and your information like user ID, protocol, right? So these kind of information will be hidden. It will modified, and it will send the traffic to the destination. Then destination will reply. While reply that, so it will forward, it will receive the packet. While receiving that packet, it will not directly forward your reply. It will modify the IP packets, and it will forward the traffic to the destination guys. Okay, it will act like a middleman between the client and server. It will not allow you directly to access. It just act like a land brokers. So how land brokers will not allow, I mean, real estate brokers will not allow the party who is buying and party who is selling, right? Both of them the same way. The proxy firewall will not allow directly to communicate each other. They will hide their both their information, guys. Okay, so in and along with that, little bit application visibility it is have, and but not full-fledgedly, it will not able to do deep inspect. Okay, so this is the proxy firewall, guys. Okay, now then what is application firewall? So we, even though we have a proxy firewall to identify the little about application, still your proxy firewall doesn't have a full-fledged application visibility. And the drawback of the proxy firewall is, example for the proxy firewall, FortiProxy, we have multiple proxy firewalls we have, and one of the example is FortiProxy firewall, FortiProxy. Okay, and drawback of the proxy, it is not suitable for the as a perimeter firewall, as a gateway firewall, or it's not suitable as an application level filter to it. The thing is, it doesn't have a IPS functions. Inspection and control monitoring, it's not possible. In full-fledged monitoring, deep inspection is not possible. So it will not work against the virus or malware if it is spread over the internet, right? So it is not having a privilege to identify that. Okay, that is the drawback of proxy firewall. Then what is the application firewall? So application firewall, so whatever the traditional stateful firewall having the functions like stateful information and layer 3, layer 4 filters, right? Along with that, it has application visibility. Okay, so sorry, not application firewall. Application firewall have a application visibility, and it can able to, it's not suitable. Application firewall is not suitable to protect entire your network level protection. It's not possible to do by using just an application firewall. Application firewall, it's a extra protection. It will do only filter L7 layer 7 filters only. It has a awareness what is the application we are using, what is the data content inspection, application deep inspection is possible. Okay, but layer 3 and layer 4 filtering, it's not possible. So that's the reason I'm saying that it is not suitable for enterprise network. I mean, as a perimeter firewall, you cannot deploy this application firewall. Okay, so then what is next generation firewall? So whatever next generation firewall, all the features you can implement stateful firewall, and you can implement proxy, you can implement application firewall. Along with that, next generation firewall is a combination of all these features. It is having a L3 filter, L4 filter, along with L7 filter. So since it has a application data visibility, application visibility, also it can able to do data inspection. So data, what kind of data user using, and whether it is a secure data or not, right? Who is the what is the user identity, right? Along with the UTM features like IPS activities, antivirus profile, for vulnerability protection, spyware protection, right? And then URL filter, file blocking, content content blocking, right? So content filter, all this feature plus all L3 functions like router, just like a router, it will whatever router it will do, all the routing functions like routing, NAT, VPN traffic, it can be established, and it can also control by using source IP and destination IP and port numbers, protocol numbers, right? So all the additional features, everything, all the above features included in this next generation firewall. The next generation firewall is a combination of above all the features, guys. Okay, end to end packaged device, which is more capable to protect your entire protection network, entire network level protection. So this firewalls are capable to deploy as a perimeter firewall. So it will act like a barrier for entire your protection networks. Okay. So what are the features? Layer 7 layer 3 filters is possible, layer 4 filter is possible, layer 7 filter is possible. Additionally, monitoring features. So as a IPS function, URL filter, file blocking, IPS activities, zero-day threat prevention, content filter, anti-spyware, so spyware, antivirus, spyware, vulnerability protection, all are comes under the IPS activities. Okay, data protection, it's about content protection. Okay, content filtering, file blocking, you can also block the files, file based content, file types, right? You can able to block it. All this feature is you can able to achieve when you are having only firewall. Okay, clear? Clear, guys. So when you have one next generation firewall, the next generation firewall is nothing, it's a combination of all above. Okay, and it is very much suitable to protect your entire network. So that's the reason we are deploying this next generation firewall as a perimeter firewall, guys. Okay, further more about the uh, next generation firewall feature in informations, features and informations we'll discuss in the upcoming session, and we will compare. There is a comparison between the traditional firewall and next generation firewall. We will discuss this about in our upcoming session. Okay, so now I just want to show you where in this topology, where what are the firewall types I have deployed here. Okay, so here Paloalto firewall I deployed as a gateway firewall, which act a barrier to our yeah, external network to internal network. Okay, so if you look at that, my internet is connected on Ethernet 1/1 of my Paloalto firewall, and LAN is connected on Ethernet 1/2 of my Paloalto firewall, and WAN, so DMZ is connected on Ethernet 1/3 of my Paloalto firewall. Okay, so entire network, this FortiGate firewall, sorry, Paloalto firewall is a barrier, so it can able to protect my network level. For my entire network, it can able to protect. Okay, and additionally, some of the other firewalls I have deployed here. Okay, so proxy firewall and application firewall, right? So what is the use of proxy firewall? As I mentioned, it will act like a mediator to your internal users to external request, I mean the server, and they will hide their internal network information, and they also have a little L7 visibility they have. Okay, say, which means by using a proxy firewall, you can filter the traffic based IP based traffic. Okay, you can filter the traffic based on the URLs. Okay, along, along with that, it will hide your internal information. So by using a proxy, you can avoid to show your internal informations to the external network. So that's the reason the use case where my internal employees, they are using a public network. So that time I want to protect my internet, my internal network, and as well as I want to know the activities of my internal users. So in that use case, behind my gateway, okay, behind my LAN gateway, I am deployed my LAN. I deployed on proxy firewall, and I am hiding my internal user informations. And along with that, I am just examining what kind of URLs or websites my internal users are widely using, and I can use catchy. Your proxy firewall will do three major rules. One is hide internal information. Second, act like a mediator, okay, intermediate person. Third, it will it will use the catchy in your network. So in your production network, so mostly used websites, it will be catched in your proxy firewall. So it will not waiting for, it will use any request is going for that. So it will not wait to get reply from the firewall. I mean the destination. Okay, so since already it's using a catchy, so it will know what is the destination, original destination address. So simply it will redirect the traffic to the your destination, or it will use some catchy information by using a catchy information. Okay, these three roles are done by your proxy firewall. Because of that, you can entirely avoid to show your internal network informations to outside users. Okay, so for that reason, I'm deploying here proxy firewall, which can do one, which will not having a privilege to do L3 filters and L4 filters. Only under layer 7, little bit application visibility it has, and web application filters only I can able to achieve mostly. And your website URLs and IP based filter only I can able to filter. Okay, so why I'm adding here, I'm not able to use, it doesn't mean I'm not able to achieve this feature in a next generation firewall. You can able to achieve this feature in a next generation firewall as well. So by using a separate device to maintain for that specific role, you will add one additional extra layer here. If suppose my internal user, my outside user, a hacker is, if suppose bypass your network, right? In that use case, the proxy firewall act like a extra one more layer to give a protection. And in this side, so in my server segment, I have an application firewall. So application firewall will do L7 function properly. Okay, application visibility and inspection is there. So it is not having a capability to do L3 and L4 filters. But why I'm deploying application dedicated firewall here in a production network, so I can, the server segments are more important. So outside users and internal users are accessing your servers. So if suppose my gateway firewall is bypassed by the hackers, and I need a one more extra protection. Okay, so that's the reason in my extra protection I need in my server zone. So that's the reason I have deployed application firewall here. Okay, so it doesn't mean your firewall will not do inspect application. I mean traditional next generation firewall is not doing a application filter properly. Yes, it will do application filter as well. So it, okay, additional extra protection layer, security protection layer purpose, we are adding these kind of devices, guys. So this is how in a internal, in a production network, in a corporate network, they will be deployed. Say they will use combination of the security products. They will not use only next generation firewall, or even though next generation firewall only they use, so multiple firewalls here. I can also deploy here one more Paloalto firewall as an only for the application filter, as a layer 2 filter. I mean layer 2 deployment, switching deployment, or I can go with the vWire, virtual wire deployment. So this deployment option will allow the firewalls to do deep inspects against the applications, layer 7 function, and as an entire IPS, act like a full-fledged IPS along with layer 7 visibility, data controlling. Okay, that is possible even if you're deploying here as a one Palo Alto firewall. The same way you can deploy one Paloalto firewall here, and you can treat it as a proxy firewall as well. Okay, so that is possible by the next generation firewall, because the next generation firewall is a combination of all other firewall features. Okay, so application firewall, proxy firewall, okay, traditional firewall, along with stateful inspection. All this possible by the next generation firewall. So that's the reason most of the use cases we are deploying our traditional firewall as a perimeter firewall to control your entire network protection. Okay, so because of that, most 80 to 90% of the vulnerability will be identified, and it will be blocked by the traditional, I mean, your perimeter firewall itself, your gateway firewall itself. If suppose one or two vulnerabilities are bypassed and due to some lack of configuration issues, right? So not maintaining the firewall hardening properly. In that case, if you're not maintaining a proper configuration, there is a possibility the attacker can bypass your internal network and they will try to hack your server, so our internal network, internal resources. So for that reason only, additional extra security layer we are replacing another firewalls. It doesn't mean you should use only dedicated application firewall or only dedicated proxy firewall. You can also use the FortiGate firewall there. You can also use Paloalto firewall there. Okay, the one role only will be different. Clear? Okay, guys. I hope now you guys are aware what are all the firewalls we have and what is the use case of what is the real time usability of each firewall types. So if you take any corporate network, they will not use only one single firewall. Okay, so they will use multiple vendor product and one firewall. Let's say Paloalto, if they used Paloalto as a uh, perimeter firewall, they might use a FortiGate as a layer to segment, that is a application under application filter purpose only they might use. Okay, or checkpoint they might use. Like that, they will use different products to add additional security layer in their production network, guys. Clear? Any doubts, guys, up to now? Guys, any doubts up to now? Okay, clear, fine. Okay, guys. So now if you look at my topology, I have different color codes I have given for each, right? So this is called a segmentation, which is called zone. So let in my network, right? I'm just segmentizing this is my internal network, guys. Okay, just except from the red color, except red color. So rest of the network are my internal network where my this is my corporate network. So why I'm splitting like this: LAN, DMG, guest, WAN, right? Why I'm splitting like this? Segmentize. I just did a segmentation of my network. Why? Because the zone is nothing. Zone is called segmentation, guys. I'm segmentizing my network for better network administration. Okay, so let's say even though India is a single nation, right? For administrative purpose, we have split it as a multiple states, and inside the states, we have a multiple districts. We split it. Inside the district, we have some uh, municipal or corporations kind of activity. It's right. So that kind of uh, splitation we have, right, in a biggest geographical location. To administration purpose, we are segmentizes all the geographical location, right? The same way in your corporate network, I have a servers. My internal employees also connected. My guest users also will come to my network and they will try to access the internal services and outside network internet service as well, right? So everyone, if I'm, let's say this is my firewall, here my server is there, here my internal users are using connected, and the same network my guest user is also connected, right? And it is directly connecting with the internet. So now what will happen, guys? If someone is outside user, now I have a server. Let's say my corporate website I have. My clients, they want to access my company website. So that website I have hosted within the network itself, just like this. Where my internal employees are connected, where my guests are connected. Everyone is connected with the same network, right? So now what will happen? So someone is who is trying to access your web server, he can also have a visibility of your internal network. So which means they can able to bypass your servers, or the guest also, the guest who is trying to communicate with connected with your network as a guest appearance. So he will also have a visibility to connect your server or your internal resources as well. So there is a possibility, highly riskable implementation this one, because if your outside user bypass your server, the vulnerability is injected on your server, or guest user injected anything malicious on your internal, any of your internal machines, right, or your network devices, right? So what will happen? Your entire network will be infected by the virus or malware malicious, right? So entire network will be collapsed, guys. Okay. So to avoid that, even though in my production network, if I segmentize different way, right? So let's say if suppose my outside user, they try to access my internal network, and internal network is bypassed, and then this machine is injected on malicious code, and whatever the machines are communicated with this internal network, that machine only will be infected again. So the rest of the segmentation will not allow the communication with this. Normally, by default, once if you segmentize your network, within a segment only you can able to communicate. So LAN users can able to communicate within a LAN. WAN users, they can able to communicate with the within, sorry, DMZ users, they can able to communicate within the DMZ. Guest users, they can able to communicate within the guest. So within their boundary line. Okay, if they want to communicate, so if you are going to the, let's say, US to Canada, there is a border. So if you want to go, US people want to go to the Canada, or Canada people want to go to the US. So what will happen? In a border, they will monitor, and they will, without permission, you will not able to cross the borders, right? The same way, without the permission, the internal users will not communicate with the my other segment, internal segments. So because of that, even though any of my internal segment is infected or bypassed by the hackers, my other internal segments will be in a safer mode, guys. Okay, so I can reduce the security risk when I segmentize my network. Okay, that is the one factor why we are segmentize your network as a different segmentation, LAN, WAN, DMZ. Okay, so reduce the security risk. Okay, second, when you have a smaller size of network, you can implement efficiently, you can implement the security features. So set of rules. My LAN users need, the set of my LAN users want to access my internal network or internet for some of the reasons. So I can authenticate only from the set of users or set of area subnet, right? I can able to authenticate, I can allow them. So set of accessibility, I can access an identity I can able to implement because of the segmentation easily. Okay. So these are the major role why we are segmentizing your network. And finally, administration is very simple and very easy and effective. Okay, administration of your network is very easy and simple, guys. Okay, for that reason only we are segmentizing our network. So commonly there are three type of segmentation, the name they are giving it. Okay, but you can give it whatever you want. Okay, so the segmentation is called internal, I mean, LAN segment, LAN zone, DMZ segment, DMZ zone. Okay, and WAN segment. Okay, so LAN zone by default. LAN zone, internal networks will be connected. Your internal users, internal employees, internal resources. So that may have a services or servers. Maybe server might have only corporate resources are going to sharing. Outside users are not going to use that server. Only as an employee, corporate users only you are going to use it. So in that use case, some of the organization they will segmentize and they will deploy it in a LAN zone, or else they can go with the DMZ zone as well. But DMZ zone, logically, DMZ zone where internal users need to communicate as well as outside users also will be communicated. It's a demilitarized zone. It is a demilitarized zone where your internal users and external users are trying to access the services. Let's say in your corporate website, you are hosting. That web server is hosted in your DMZ zone, server segment. Okay. So outside user, one of the client want to get a quotation or some based on your service. He want to purchase, let's say you are hosting an e-commerce site. So he want to purchase it. So he need to access your web server by login with your website. So he need to access it. So we need to allow them to access your web server as well. And the same way, the employee from your organization, so he is doing some patch update on your web server, or he is doing some data update, like he is uploading some internal information in your web server. The data might be, or any file he may upload it, right? So he need to access that server for administrative purpose for that web server. Okay, so he is also need to access this web server. So in this use case, internal users also will access and outside users also will access. So in this use case, the chances or probability to getting infected by the virus or malware, or getting hacked by the attacker, so this DMZ zone is very high, because outside users also accessing, internal users also accessing. Okay, so that's the reason we are not deploying the servers in an internal network. If the servers are getting hacked, or servers are injected with the malicious content, your internal network also will be injected by the malicious content. So for that reason only, we are segmentizing here. So because of that, we can manage efficiently and we can make our network security as properly. So we are adding a security layer, additional layer, and we can properly manage your internal network, guys. Okay. And so someone is from the guest who is visiting your organization, and if you want to allow them internet access, you can create through Wi-Fi access. You are giving internet, right? So that Wi-Fi access point will be connected with your guest zone. Okay. So whatever the guest user they are trying to access, that communication will be treated separately, and they will not allow by default to communicate internal or DMZ services. They will be allowed only for the internet access, or only for the separate internal communication within the guest zone. Okay. So for that purpose only, we are segmentized guys. Okay, this is called segmentation or zone. So zones are nothing. It's a segmentation of network. The purpose of creating a zone, or it's segmentize your network to better network administration and better network security implementation, guys. Clear? Any doubts? What is zone? What are the type of zones we have? So that's the reason you can see that application to secure my servers, I have added application firewall here, or you can deploy here your Palo Alto or FortiGate firewall as a application level. So you can secure your entire application and servers. Okay. Additional extra layer, it will be added. So clear guys, any doubts? So your Palo Alto firewall or your FortiGate firewall are capable to deploy only for the proxy, as a proxy firewall, only as application firewall, even entire next generation firewall you can deploy it. Okay, because that next generation firewalls are having all this capability. Clear? So that is the reason, or that is the importance of the next generation firewall. So why nowadays Our organizations are depending on the next generation firewalls for the better security performance. Okay, clear, guys? Any doubts or any queries right now?
As you were saying, the traditional firewall, still there are companies are using a traditional firewall, or they're all moving into this next generation firewall?
Okay, it's actually it is depends on their use case. Okay, so let's say some of the organizations still running the ASA. Why? Because so they will use this kind of approach to detect the IPS, dedicated IPS devices, and dedicated application firewall, dedicated even next generation firewall also they will deploy it in their server segments. And in a gateways, sometimes in a gateways they will deploy ASA, and they will give the role to filter the layer 3 and layer 4 filters. Plus the ASA especially it's good for VPN traffic as a VPN gateway. Some of the organization, so most of the use cases, it will act like a VPN gateway. So any connect application, I hope everyone are aware about this any connect. So if you're doing a work from, if you did work from home, so in your organization, any of the Cisco product, either FTD or ASA firewall they used, if they used, they will use to provide the SSL remote VPN access. They will give this application only. By connecting this application only, you can connect with your internal network. Okay. So some of the traditional ASA, some of the companies still they are using it for the performance of the app, only for the VPN purpose, VPN gateway. As a VPN gateway, they might used, or as a only along with the L3 and L4 filters, they might use it. Okay. So
But the thing is, actually, even as your point, the stateful, next generation firewall having all the features, right? So it must be
yes,
having future as well, right? The ASA,
yes,
the L,
yes. Sorry, come again. Yeah, please go ahead.
yeah. The thing is,
So
actually, next generation firewall having the same VPN feature as well.
yes, exactly.
So
Okay.
instead of
So
using the stateless firewall, they can able to deploy the stateful firewall to all the
obviously,
access.
100% they are using a next generation firewall in their production network. So I already it's just like I'm giving one use case. You bought a new mobile phone which is having all features, and also you have another mobile phone. Okay. So obviously, since you have that phone also it's working properly. So since you have two mobile phones, so some of the use cases you will use for a business purpose you will use one phone, another purpose you will use normal phone, right? These kind of things you will do, or either you can throw back your another mobile phone, right? The same way the organization which don't want to waste their resources and still they want to implement or share the workload, right? So still ASA you can deploy as a gateway firewall as well and share the workload of L3 filter and L4 filters and NAT and routing. These process can done by your ASA firewall, and behind that ASA firewall, they will deploy one next generation firewall, either Paloalto, FortiGate, anything. Okay, and they will use it for only application filter and deep inspection, IPS as IPS and layer 7 filter. They will implement. Obviously, they have this next generation firewall. It doesn't mean they don't have a next generation firewall. Without next generation firewall, we cannot provide end-to-end security on your corporate network. Okay, so the organization which they don't want to waste their resources, they can implement like that.
All right, got it. Thank you.
Okay, it's totally up to you. So let's say you're become a network security consultant. So your clients are asking you to create a one I mean suggest one firewall, or they're asking you to create your entire network architect, right? So you are going to design the network and you are going to deploy all those things. So along with the security protocols. So if they have any resources depends on their budget, you are going to decide the product and you are going to decide the services, everything, right? So for that in that use cases, some of the vendors they don't want to, they are not capable, or they are not able to purchase multiple products. So simply they don't want to waste their resources. Additional whatever the resource feature they need, that features they will purchase it. Okay, and some of the organizations still they don't want to use make any changes on your existing network. Okay, so in that use case, you can deploy your let's say this is a ASA firewall, and you can deploy your Palo Alto firewall as a vWire mode. All your firewalling features, L3, still L3 to L7 filter, you can able to achieve it, even though your firewall filter, your ASA firewall filter the traffic. So whatever the traffic is passing through your ASA firewall to Palo Alto firewall, that will be deep inspected by the Palo Alto firewall along with firewalling function as well. Okay. So if I mention a lot of things here itself, you will get confused, guys. So while learning one by one properly, only you can able to understand the Palo Alto is the awesome product which is giving an end-to-end solution for entire corporate network in terms of firewalling technology. Okay, so you lot of things is there in a Palo Alto. We'll learn everything, guys. Okay, all the deployment option we'll learn. So there you will get more knowledge on that. Okay, so now the purpose of presenting this session is I just want to give you the knowledge what are the type of firewall we have and which use cases we can utilize these firewalls. So you have a perimeter next generation firewall to protect your servers. Additional security layer, you have to use proxy firewalls, application firewalls, email, web-based firewalls, web application only, web application firewalls, or email firewalls, email security protocol, right? So these kind of products you need to know and you need to learn. So you need to utilize it. So when you want to upgrade yourself, when you want to become a network architect level, security architect level, right? So in that use cases, in a defense mechanism. Okay. So anything else, guys? I hope it's giving you I mean, I hope you got the answer. Anything else, guys? Anybody? Do you have any queries? No. Okay. Okay, guys. Then